Fox 5 and Hot 97 present Street Soldiers with Lisa Evers.
Welcome to this episode of Street Soldiers. I'm your host, Lisa Evers. Concerns are rising among parents, educators, politicians, and medical experts about the negative impact of social media addiction on children and teens. Now the nation's top doctor is suggesting it may be time to put warning labels on social media, similar to the ones on cigarettes. As awareness grows about rising mental health issues facing young people, U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy says social media is an important contributor. In a New York Times op-ed piece, Dr. Vivek Murthy wrote, quote, "A Surgeon General's warning label, which requires congressional action, would regularly remind parents and adolescents that social media has not been proved safe," end quote. His opinion may be based in science. Social media addiction can affect us in ways similar to opioids, alcohol, or even chocolate, says psychiatrist and public health specialist Dr. Yalda Safai. She warns that the instant gratification of likes, shares, and comments makes users want more and more over time.
Because of that instant gratification, we get a little spike in our brain of a substance called dopamine. Dopamine is a feel-good hormone. Dopamine is secreted when we have a nice piece of chocolate. Dopamine is also secreted when someone uses opioids or alcohol or more addictive substances. It's the same with social media. The neurobiology of social media addiction is the same exact pathway or neurobiology that it is for opioid addiction.
Documents leaked by whistleblowers at social media companies showed how extensively and invasively they were tracking children's usage, says attorney Robert King. He represents families who claim their children have suffered adverse effects like cutting, anorexia, and injuries from stunts or challenges. He believes a warning label from the U.S. Surgeon General, similar to what's on a cigarette package, is an important first step.
As you dig in and documents are produced to attorney generals around the United States and lawyers in our lawsuit, you just see more and more and more how complex the business systems were created to target children.
Warnings by officials about social media dangers are increasing. New York Governor Kathy Hochul recently signed a bill into law requiring social media companies to restrict addictive feeds to users under the age of 18. Mayor Eric Adams and schools chancellor David Banks are working to ban smartphones in New York City public schools. Other cities and states have already implemented similar policies. A warning from the Surgeon General would be important, says Jessica Elefante of Mothers Against Media Addiction.
I think it has been a long time coming, and I'm thrilled. It's not a cure-all. It is a first step. I want it on smartphones. I want it on any sort of platform that uses an algorithm, whether it's a video game or even ed tech. But what it really is a huge step in the right direction to show parents that this stuff is unsafe.
We brought together a great panel on this. Let's find out more about what they have to say. Joining me for this conversation is Dr. Yalda Safai. She's a psychiatrist and has her master's in public health. Dr. Safai, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it. Also with us is attorney Robert King. He is the founder of King Law. He is involved in a number of lawsuits involving injuries from the use of social media. We'll find out what that's all about. Robert, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Well, and also with us is Jessica Elefante. She's the co-chapter leader of the Brooklyn chapter of the Mothers Against Media Addiction. Jessica, thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Dr. Safai, I want to start with you on this. The Surgeon General wrote an op-ed page piece recently talking about social media, and he really felt that it needed to have warning labels. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. He's getting his inspiration from the warning label that came on tobacco back in, I believe it was the 60s. Studies done on the use of tobacco after this warning label was implemented showed that the incident of tobacco use went down. However, I haven't found any specific studies about the incident of tobacco use in adolescents. Because let's be honest, adolescents don't think about long-term consequences. They overlook warning labels. So I'm really curious to see here. I don't think this warning label per se will do anything to deter kids from using social media, but I think it's a wake-up call for parents.
Jessica Elefante with Mothers Against Media Addiction. We all see it with the kids. You have a noisy little toddler, you give them an iPad, they're in the car, they're in the restaurant, you want the kids to settle down, you pull out the electronics if they're not out already. Why did you get so involved with this organization and this work?
So I actually worked in tech a long time ago with marketing, media, and advertising. And I myself became really unwell from using the technology. I was what was considered an early adopter and an overuser. And I had all of these symptoms that were mysterious back then, but today we're seeing in children and adults as well. And I knew if I had had a whole life without this technology and felt this unwell by using it the way that I was, this was in 2012 to 2013, I couldn't imagine what it would be for kids. So I left that career and I started advocating for change around how we think about technology. I was not anti-tech by any means, but that we could have a better relationship with it. Fast forward to today, I've been doing this work for 10 years. I no longer believe that until it's designed that way, because after, so long of understanding that this is designed to keep us on, have children stay on, that the only way through, I think, in a healthy way is to actually advocate for guardrails and change. And so Mothers Against Media Addiction was founded by Julie Scelfo. She's a journalist who has been reporting on this for 10 years and wanted to hopefully have change happen. And when it wasn't, she's like, you know what, I guess I have to do this myself. So she started a grassroots movement, a coalition of parents who are concerned about this nationwide. And we're really proud of the work that's happened so quickly.
And raising awareness, and we're going to talk about some of that work coming up in the show with us. But Attorney Robert King, you're representing people who are suing some of these social media companies. How does that rise to the level of a lawsuit or needing to have a legal expert, a lawyer like yourself?
Yeah, it's a very technical legal argument that we've placed forward. It's hundreds of years old. The theory of the common law dates back to England. And what it says is products need to be safe. These platforms are products and they need to be reasonably safe. And really, we have hundreds and hundreds of cases of young people who are not safe. They are specifically hurting themselves, have mental health diagnosis, or commit suicide. Horrible, horrible objective findings based on their interaction with this product.
So you support the idea of a warning?
Support the idea of a warning. I think it's the first step in any product. I think you will see, and hopefully a lot of that is brought about by the lawyers that I'm working with in the social media addiction lawsuit, is peeling back the curtain a little bit on the algorithms, on what the social media companies are specifically doing.
There's more to come. Don't go away.
I can confidently go into a courtroom and say, this is not right, and here's why. I want all of your documents, and I want the whole world to know what you're doing to these kids.
Dr. Spy, in terms of stress factors, a lot of the psychologists that we've had on the show, psychiatrists, have said there are definite signs when you've been on social media too much, especially for youth, for teens and preteens in particular. What do you think about that?
Well, we know based on the studies that we've done is that if someone spends more than 3 hours on social media, the likelihood that they might develop something like major depression or anxiety disorder doubles, triples as you spend more time on social media. I think it's really important. I always tell parents, you know your kid the best. If you notice a sudden change in your kid's behavior, that is a warning sign. Now, because our kids are spending most of their times on the internet, the likelihood that something might be happening on the internet to make such a drastic change on their mood is more likely than anything else. So if you notice something like that, I think it's really good to investigate, and easier said than done, but it's really important to set boundaries and limit the amount of time your kids spend on social media.
I'm going to challenge you a little bit on the setting boundaries, because we keep hearing about setting boundaries, but in a lot of ways, it's just that would become not more than a full-time job just to handle that. Jessica, in terms of the way the social media is designed, there's been a lot of talk about this. Governor Hochul has been trying to get the algorithms changed so that you come from an advertising background. There's certain signals you can send to make people want to buy something. Isn't that just, aren't the algorithms just today's version of that?
Yes, this is like the new high fructose corn syrup. And I think the biggest thing that I want parents to understand is that nobody's looking out for your children. These companies do not care about your children. They don't care about you. They care about the money, and the money is through the attention and the awareness and the eyeballs. And the way that they keep them on, yes, there's neuroscientists that are hired by these organizations or companies to figure out at exactly what point someone might put it down to get them to come back. I mean, we all know the endless scroll, like that was designed on purpose so that they could feed more advertising. You do want to set boundaries, you do want to watch your kids, and you do want to pay attention. But I really hope people understand that it's really difficult to put this stuff down because it's designed that way. And so you kind of add a little bit of another layer of a problem by telling a child that they should be able to put it down when actually it's designed so that they can't.
Robert, what kinds of cases have been brought to your attention and that you and your firm, King Law, have taken on?
All sorts of serious mental health regarding social media, serious mental health diagnosis. If I can just tell a couple of the stories, maybe. Young people who are spending 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 hours a day, and a lot of kids report literal constant use, especially starting at COVID, up to 10 hours a day. And when you have a young person who has a mental health diagnosis, whether it's anorexia or self-harm, cutting, something like that, and they start, this is where the algorithm comes in, and this is the part I find personally very dangerous and not right. And the algorithm sees them giving that content. It's not healthy attention. It just serves more and more and more. And the kid goes down and down and down. And they stay on there more and they come to my office and they show me the cuts of 12 years on their arms and legs. Those are the stories that we see as lawyers, and it's really, I think, what drives us to, I can confidently go into a courtroom and say, this is not right, and here's why I want all of your documents, and I want the whole world to know what you're doing to these kids.
Dr. Sabaya, in terms of the science about how to keep people hooked to something, do you think that's harmful, especially for kids, to just get these constant messages?
Let me tell you the neurobiology of this. Because on Instagram, Facebook, there's this instant gratification that we get from likes or comments or shares. The reinforcement, the desire to go back on social media, A, yes, it's driven by the algorithm. B, biology. It is the secretion of a powerful substance in our brain called dopamine is what makes us keep going back to social media. Dopamine is the feel-good hormone. Dopamine is what's secreted when we have a piece of chocolate, or even when someone who has an addiction to heroin or alcohol uses it. It's very powerful and it reinforces the behavior. Now, the problem with dopamine is you would develop tolerance, right? So you need more and more of the stimuli to get the same sort of effect. So I don't think there's really a difference between social media addiction and alcohol addiction or opioid addiction. It's the same neurobiology that goes on in our brain.
Jessica, in terms of the stories that you all are hearing from your members around the country, what kinds of things are you hearing from the moms?
Yeah, I mean, it runs the gamut from, I can't get my child off of this and I don't know why, or they're not themselves, or they don't see their friends only online, or they're only choosing this. So there's that piece, or they can't focus, right? So this is all stuff that we all feel, all the way through to the other end of the spectrum, which no parent wants to be in, which is, I've been advocating for these bills up in Albany with Mama, parents that their children are no longer here because they have taken their own life due to sextortion, which is becoming a very common problem. I was with another family who their child had, landed on a hashtag that was help Anna. And she was like, who's Anna and why does she need help? She was 11 now. Something really important to note. They didn't give their child a phone. They didn't give their child an iPad, and they did not give their child Instagram. The child's friend gave her backup iPad and told her to hide it in her room. And then went on Instagram on there. So that is why these protocols or sort of guardrails are so important, because kids are going to be kids, right? They are going to find and sneak and do. And Help Anna was actually help for becoming anorexic. And this was a child's first experience on social media. And this just sent her right down there. Today, she's doing lovely and she is advocating for change. She's much older. She's a young woman now. And then I'm sitting with New York families that their children are no longer here because they died because of a TikTok challenge, because they wanted to go viral. And so the thing about these algorithms, the algorithms are a problem in the fact that they're addicting, but there's the other problem, which is the content on them.
Attorney Robert King, what about the various platforms too? Because do you see differences between the different social media platforms among the people who come to you for help with their cases?
I think that the challenge with social media platforms and why to me, you see social media addiction is there is actually some difference between a video game and these platforms, because a video game is created one time and then it runs. But these platforms change for each individual user. It self-learns how to create what to serve this person with the sole aspect. How can we keep them on the platform the longest? And it's not a person. There is no designer. They designed an algorithm that then goes out and serves in what it seems like the studies show in a harmful way. How long can we keep this kid on this platform? That's it. And it
based off of their data.
Every kid off their actions, off what they do, off their action over the course of time. And it produces something that is very individual to that user.
Robert, in terms of this concept of privacy, that your child's name, location, all of these things about them personally and their personality can be in some kind of database somewhere, how dangerous is that?
I think it's a greater question of who's going to be responsible for the products. Is it the companies that put them out, or is it our job to figure out all these little nuances? The companies, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, they know darn well that these are kids from the things that they're doing, the content that they're interested in watching. And they don't have the ability to sign waivers. They're not old enough. It's not legal. They don't understand how to sign waivers. So right. I think it's a whole. It's a bigger question of should they be responsible? And as lawyers, we're saying they know exactly what they're doing. They have the internal documents. This all stems back actually to a leak from an employee at a social media company who said, this is what we're tracking and this is what we're doing. And all the lawyers started looking at it and saying, this is a product. They're manufacturing it like a product and they're going after kids. So I guess our position as lawyers is if you're going to do things that are wrong, we're going to come after you for it.
I think the other thing that we haven't really touched on, which is they're spending all this time getting this content and becoming addicted, but the other side of it is, what are they not doing? So if they're spending 10 hours a day getting this horrifying content, they're not spending 10 hours a day in the real world, face to face, learning things like empathy or a risk assessment or how to overcome feeling anxious about something. They're supposed to have hardship in their youth so that they can learn how to deal with it. And so if they're always on this stuff and being pacified, we're also not having all of these real world experiences that helps them learn how to cope. But Dr. Safai, you would
No, you are absolutely right.
But Dr. Safai, do we need to think about certain, like some kids are going to be more vulnerable to others? Are there some kids that are automatically, by the circumstances that they happen to be growing up in, more vulnerable than others?
Yes, people who are already dealing with anxiety, depression, or maybe live in troubled households, or who are having difficulty at school or getting bullied or any sort of hardship outside of social media, they tend to escape and find solace. They go on social media to escape. So yes, that's definitely that factor. And I know I hate to put all the burden on the parents, but you really need to know your kid. I don't think there's a one size fits all for the use of social media for kids. I think it's tailored to each individual kid. The parents know best. They know if they allow their kids too much of a good thing, what's going to happen. They understand their kids' tendencies. So I think it's really dependent on the parents here to set guidelines, time limits for their kids. I know it's a burden. I know it's time consuming. I know it's not possible for everybody, but I just think the amount of time someone is allowed on social media should be individualized.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on social media warning labels. You can watch it and share it again on our Fox 5 NY YouTube page and the Fox Local TV app. Remember, use your mind. It's your best weapon. I'm Lisa Evers. Let's push for peace, love, and justice for all.